this segment we're about to get into, it's a very intellectually stimulating conversation. We're just going to have a conversation about, firstly, why we are here. I praised and I conquered. We're going to interview Tino about the general aspects of a book and why you have to, by the end, at least by the end of this segment, feel the zeal to want to buy his book. And then we're going to be talking as well about social issues, economic issues as well. Whenever I have to introduce this one, I become speechless because I don't know where to start. Similarly, and I remember the first day I saw Mr. Anthony. He's leaning forward. He has to listen to this one. It's going to be a shocker for him. It was back in 2019. He was in Upper 6. I was in Form 1 in Gifford High School. So if you realize that all these young gentlemen seated in front of you went to one school, which is Gifford High School. Mr. Anthony had I don't know what young people call these days, it's called an aura. You know, he had an aura. He was a very tall guy, slim, with cream blazer with ribbons. I remember myself coming from rural areas, and I'm like, which one is this one? 3 ribbons and 1 blazer. He was that guy. And he's taking us through the school tour. He's like, doesn't greet us, comes to us, he's like, gentlemen, follow me. And if you know Mr. Anthony very well, he's got strides. He's very tall. So 1 feet for him is equivalent to 4 feet for a young gentleman. Those that know him will understand what I'm saying. So he's taking us throughout the school. He's giving us these rules. And I remember feeling inspired as a young man, saying that one day I want to be in those shoes. And I remember meeting him as well, joining the debate club. He's winning trophies. Mr. Anthony never repeated a blazer. Let me tell you one thing. He never repeated a blazer from Monday up to Friday. He had 5 different blazers. 1 for Monday, 1 for Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. That's Mr. Anthony. Because I don't know where to start. And so I got to know him better as both a brother and a mentor to me. And I remember his first book launch I attended, which was last year. And I'm somewhat of a miniature author. I want you to understand this, guys. Writing just a single book is difficult. It's really, really difficult. I started writing my book in 2023. I'm not done until this date. 2023, 3 years. But he's written 11 books. 11 books in total. I'm speechless. Speechless. I don't know where to start. So it is such an honor and a privilege to me to be seated with these 2 gentlemen. And we're about to have a conversation. A very deep conversation. And I invite you to listen very, very carefully. It's not going to be an easy one, because I don't go easy. He knows. He knows. I don't go easy. So, yeah. Let me start here, Mr. Anthony. Let me start here. This book, this one, Architecture of the Aftermath. That's quite a handful. That's quite a mouthful as well. What is that? Architecture of the Aftermath.
Thank you so much for the wonderful presentation. He lied about 82% of the things he mentioned. So please do not get that. Before I answer that question, I would like to first thank everyone who managed to come here and to honor the MP of Cowdrey Park constituency who is here. Honorable, we thank you so much for your time. I want to thank the ministers of the gospel that are here. I'm not an orphan, I come from a family. I would also want to honor the people from Kingdom Empowerment Center who are here represented, and to also honor my father in the Lord, Prophet Bruce Edwards. I would also want to honor in absentia the Bishop of Harvest House International and the people that are represented here, all the ministers of the gospel, young people, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for being here. Please, can you give yourself a round of applause. All right, so to answer the first question, architecture of the aftermath. So the revelation of this book, it came one day when I was studying about a particular issue. There is a particular tree in the forest that is called agar wood. This is a tree that is very difficult to find. You don't find it all the time. So what happens with this tree is that whenever it's infected, whenever an infection comes to it as a tree, what immediately happens is it responds to the infection that came to it. So whenever an infection comes from around or an animal scratches that particular tree, it responds. So when it responds with a chemical, and that chemical smells good. That's the chemical that they use to make perfume. So whenever it is infected, it produces a sweet chemical, and that chemical is what we use to purchase perfume. And one of the perfumes that are made is English Blazer, which is one of the most expensive perfumes within the world. So looking at this tree, I realized that the more infections it gets, the more sweet chemical that it produces. Which means that the most expensive tree, which is an agar wood, is actually the most infected tree. Which means the greater the infection, the greater the response of the tree. So what I was seeing there is challenges that arise in life. They arise to infect. But when they infect you, the reason of the infection is your response. So how do you respond to the infection? When you respond to the infection, ultimately that which is left is what is attractive. So many of us, we go through a lot of diverse challenges, where life becomes difficult, where things get difficult. But as things are getting difficult, you don't understand that that's the qualification point of you to have a reason to have impact within the society. So we have so many people that when the infection comes, instead of responding to the infection, they are destroyed by the infection. Which means that no one has a choice as to the struggles they face. But what separates people is the response that they take. So this is where the revelation came of. Then this revelation was cemented by a story that is within the Bible. If we go within the Bible, Mr. Lindani, there is a time when Jesus was in a boat. When Jesus is in a boat, a storm arises. When the storm arose, the disciples, they began to panic because of the storm. But Jesus was lying down. He was calm and he was very quiet. It was when he was woken up that they asked, "Master, care you not that we perish?" And immediately he rose up, then he calmed the storm. What is it that this man knew that everyone else did not know? That when a storm arises, as long as there is a promise of getting to the other side and there is a word that exists, that you can still arise and you can still calm the storm. Which means that storms do not respond to people that are desperate for them to be calmed, but they respond to people that know that storms are supposed to be calm. So this is where the revelation came from. So looking at this now and mapping it with what young people are going through now, the challenge with young people is not the challenges we face. Everyone goes through challenges. And some of us, we don't apply to those challenges. No one applies to have absent parents. No one applies to be bullied in school. No one applies to have financial difficulties. But to what extent are you willing to respond to the difficulties for you to be able to have that sweet chemical that eventually makes an infectious tree very valuable within society?